Mission Unusual Tokyo, an urban center of influence in Montenegro, and turning churches into sanctuaries in Poland. All this and much more coming up next. Hello and welcome to Mission 360. I'm Gary Krause. Today's program is coming to you from Tokyo, the capital of Japan. And over the past few days, I've joined with other church leaders looking at church planting right here in this city through the Mission Unusual Tokyo initiative. On today's program, we're going to learn more about that, but we're also going to travel, as usual, all over the globe. But first up, we visit a center of influence in Montenegro.
On a busy street along the coastline of Montenegro, an Adventist-owned vegan restaurant prepares for the lunch rush. Montenegro's coastline attracts visitors from all over the Balkans. This restaurant is a popular spot for both tourists and locals to grab a tasty meal. The food is made with care, and only the best ingredients are used. Opening a restaurant such as this one creates the opportunity to talk with customers about a variety of topics.
As for our mission, interestingly, when we started, we were immediately asked on Sunday, "Why are you closed on Saturday? Why do you close early on Friday?" And that was a great opportunity to talk to them about the law of God and why the Sabbath day is important for us. And we don't just respect the Sabbath day, but we respect God's laws about health.
Most guests come for the food, but some leave with even more.
And there is also other information in the form of literature that they can find about many topics. We have a book. If, for example, a mother comes with children, we talk about education and that we have the opportunity to educate children in the right way. If we're talking about health, we have books in both Russian and Serbian that talk about health, smoking, and so on. These are the books that give us tips on how to be healthy, how to be mentally capable, and develop our personalities.
Throughout the pandemic, restaurant workers distributed Bibles and Spirit of Prophecy books, sparking many customers' curiosity to ask questions about the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Once social distancing restrictions relaxed, the restaurant started offering in-person experiences to the community.
Every 2 weeks, we hold culinary classes where we give people a taste and see how the food is prepared. There is an opportunity for people to participate in the preparation, and we explain why that food is good for them.
By mingling with people and meeting their needs, urban centers of influence such as this one are implementing the first steps of Christ's method of ministry. They are building bridges that give people the opportunity to learn about Jesus. God is calling each of us to spread a message of hope to the people around us. How can you connect your business, hobbies, or daily activities to ministry?
A guest here today in Tokyo is Hanako. Hanako, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Gary.
Now, can you please tell me about Mission Unusual Tokyo? What is this?
Yes, so the Mission Unusual Tokyo is planting church in this Tokyo, and it is there are a lot of challenges because of the culture, our culture, and people's background. But it is an unusual challenge for us to reach out to people in Tokyo.
So it's an unusual challenge, and it's an unusual method, because I don't think there's been a big focus on church planting here in the past, has there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so it's a focus of local people, pastors,
Yes.
church members, missionaries, volunteers, centers of influence,
Yes.
all coming together for the purpose of planting churches. Why did you decide to become involved?
Yes, so since I was younger, I have been wanting to reach out to my non-Christian friends
Yes.
around me, but I tried to invite them to evangelistic meetings before, but no one really was interested in coming, and but I still had burden in my heart, and I've been praying about my friends that they would know about God through me somehow. And then this opportunity, I was able to hear about this opportunity of being part of this mission, Unusual Tokyo, and I thought this would be a chance for me to be involved.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now tell me, describe some of the things that you are doing.
Yes, so I have been praying about 10 people around me. They are friends and co-workers, and and I pray about them daily by name, and God gives me inspirations of how to reach out to each of them, but it is totally different. The method is totally different from what I thought would be good. So by learning from the missionaries of MUT, I learned Jesus' method of reaching out people, and that's not just inviting non-Christian people to evangelistic meetings, but I learned that blessing others and being friends with them are very important part of the ministry. And so I try to meet up, spend time with my friends as much as possible, and I try to listen to them very carefully so that I know what they are going through in their life and what their needs are, so that I can think of what I can do to meet their needs. And I believe, and also I learned that when people have trust in me, they are more open to listening to what I talk about.
That's beautiful, because rather than just inviting people to events, you're now on a lifestyle.
Yes.
Where you're mingling, you're showing sympathy, you're ministering to needs, and you're winning confidence.
Yes.
Beautiful. Can you tell me about maybe one of your friends or somebody who you've contacted, who you've been able to perhaps make the first steps with them?
Yes. So I have a close friend from close friend from junior high school, and we've been friends for years. And I've always wanted that she would know God. And I prayed about her, and whenever she asks me questions and about how I overcome life's challenges, I shared with her my testimonies of how God has helped me and how God has been answering my prayers. And there was one time she was struggling with her own life and asked me the same question. And so I shared a little bit about my experiences, and I offered to, I prayed with her. and she was very happy that I prayed for her. And surprisingly, a few days later, she said to me that she would like to go to church that I attend. And so she's been attending my church online for about a year now.
Wow,
And,
what a blessing.
Yes.
Well, Hataka, thank you for what you're doing here to share Jesus' love with the people in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And viewers at home, Mission Unusual Tokyo is unusual because it is a focus in a region where we have seen that the church has been struggling, and it's a holistic combination of missionaries and local people working together with a goal to start new groups of believers. And Christ's method of ministry worked 2,000 years ago for Jesus, and it's still working here today in the heart of the world's largest city. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Tokyo, and behind me you can see the ancient gates here at the Sensoji Temple, and also you'll see a giant pair of straw sandals weighing 500 kilos, 1,100 pounds, and these are purportedly there to keep away demons. Well, next up we talk to missionary Pastor Kevin Costello about the importance of Adventist volunteers.
You're asking why somebody would leave their home and go halfway around the world for mission. What better person to ask than somebody who has been serving as a missionary and who calls missionaries? I'm here with Kevin Costello, who is the Associate Secretary for the Southern Asia Pacific Division. Kevin, for those who don't know, what area of the world does that cover?
So our division starts in the east with the Philippines and goes to Pakistan in the west. There are 14 countries, all in the 1040 window that are covered. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, a whole bunch of countries in between. Timor-Leste, a smaller little country.
Wow, so a lot of countries that we've heard of when we talk about mission. So now, how long have you been a missionary?
A total of almost 22 years, 14 and a half years spent in the Philippines where I am now.
Okay, so where were you before?
In the Marshall Islands and then in Guam, Micronesia Mission Office.
Okay, wonderful. So when it comes to what makes a good missionary, because you've been working with people, encouraging them to go out and serve in your territory, are there certain attributes that you look for, or?
Well, yes, we certainly are looking for someone who is culturally smart, you might say, able to get along well with people of other cultures, people who are open to trying new things, learning new ways or different ways of doing things. People who have some cross-cultural background and experience is very helpful. But also we're looking for people who really have a relationship with God, who are dedicated, who believe that they're really being called, that this isn't a job, but it is a calling. We look for people who are willing to give up and to sacrifice a year to 2 years if they're AVS, or 5 years if they're going to be a long-term missionary. And we're looking for people who just have a heart to want to let other people know that Jesus is coming back, and they want to do anything they can to share that with other people.
You talked about shorter term, which is about a year, and a longer term. What's the longest serving person you know?
Actually, the longest person who has served is an Adventist Volunteer Services missionary. Her name is Helen Hall, and she has worked on the Burma or Myanmar border of Thailand. She has worked there for 43 years, all as an AVS volunteer. And she got started after having a teaching job working for a conference in Australia.
Okay. Now, what about you personally? What motivated you? I mean, was it some person who influenced you, or what was it that made you say, you know, I want to go as a missionary?
My earliest memory is of my uncle, who was a missionary to Liberia. He would send back these old reel-to-reel tapes, and we would watch them at home on Saturday nights after Vespers or after worship around our table. We would listen to him tell the stories that he was having, and my family would encourage me, saying, you can be a missionary too. And ever since then, the idea had been in my mind.
That's fascinating. I know other families, you know, it's like once you get one missionary in the family, you know, generation after generation, they've got that mission spirit implanted in them. It's in their DNA.
It's definitely something you get in that's hard to get out once it's in.
What advice would you give to somebody who sort of thinks, should I or shouldn't I, you know?
First of all, of course, pray. Pray about it earnestly, but also talk to your friends, talk to your pastor. Talk to people that know you and ask them honestly, do you think I would fit? And do you think I would be able to handle being away from home, away from family, away from the things I'm used to for up to 2 years as a volunteer?
Yeah, my daughter's out there right now. She did a year and she said, yeah, I'm not coming back. I'm staying out another year. So I think it gets to you. We were talking with somebody else who said, you know, I went as 1 year in mission, it turned into 2 years of mission, but I've realized it's a lifetime of mission.
So that was my experience. I went out as a student missionary for 1 year, ended up staying 3.5 years before I came home in the Marshall Islands, and then later on went back to Guam Micronesia mission, then went home, and then have come back again to the Philippines. So it has been a lifetime.
Yeah. Now, that's a great point, because we've got a program called Adventist Volunteer Services, which is sort of that shorter term. So how would, you know, what would you say that is in terms of sort of getting started in mission?
Well, a great way to get started. In fact, as you mentioned, my job is to take care of all of the missionaries in our division. I wouldn't be where I am today if I had not been an AVS volunteer when I was in my late teens and early 20s. It's because of that background that gave me a heart for it and gave me the desire to do what I do today.
So a lot of these AVS volunteers, then, it's their first experience in mission. Mm-hmm. What kind of feedback do you get when you first go visit, you know, when they're out in the field or as they're leaving and going back? What kind of stories do you get? Oh,
incredible stories. In fact, you know, obviously at times they come out, they're apprehensive about being there, and at first they're excited and interested, but then missing mom and missing home and food and things that you're used to, that sets in and it's natural. But then after a while they get used to where they are and the foods and the customs, and they make friends where they are, and usually by the end of a year they do not want to go home. They want to remain.
What do most of them say it's done to their lives?
Most every volunteer missionary I know has said it's changed their life forever. And if nothing else, many come back and say they get better grades in school, they're better students, they know how to study. But most say it also has deepened their relationship with Jesus, and it has given them a lifelong spirit of wanting to work cross-culturally.
Kevin, thank you so much for talking with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
Next up, we travel to Poland, where churches are being transformed into sanctuaries.
We didn't think that we were hungry or we couldn't take shower because there were no hot water. We just were thinking about, are we going to stay alive today or are we going to die? And we were only praying all the time, and thanks God we are still alive. I'm Ruslana. I'm staying here in Poland at the church. My family are refugees from Ukraine. My mom, my siblings, sister and brother. Unfortunately, our father, he's a preacher and he's left in Ukraine. When the first day of war started, we hoped it will end soon, but it didn't. And the worst part was that our city, Brezansk, was occupied on the second and third days of war, so just from the start, and we couldn't leave the city at all. And the pharmacies, the food stores were completely empty. People couldn't buy food or even like simple medicines. And also we didn't have any network, or we couldn't even call that we are alive. And our grandmother, she was so worried, and we couldn't tell her that we are alive. It was so bad.
Ruslana and her family are among the millions of refugees fleeing the conflict in Ukraine. Few know where they will end up.
Majority of us don't have relatives or friends here, and the only people who help is church. The church gonna give us a chance to have future and help us with the basic things. And here's a bedroom, so we slept here. And it's quite comfortable, it's warm here and nice. And we are really glad that church provided us a place to sleep in.
Adventist churches across Europe are redefining what it means for a church to be a sanctuary. ADRA supports their efforts to take in thousands of refugees.
Jesus never asked, "Who are you? What is your nationality? Are you a good person or bad person?" He was open. And I think this is a good example for us. When we are helping others, it's like Jesus' hands will be through us. We change because of Jesus, of His impact on us. And we want to be His hands. We want to be His feet.
Global humanitarian agency, ADRA, which is
the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, ADRA, based here
Internacional, que es la rama humanitaria de la Iglesia Adventista del Séptimo Día.
Adventista de Recursos Assistenciais. Now the organization has people in and around Ukraine, helping the hundreds of thousands of people fleeing.
The groups here at home are getting involved as well.
The Maryland Aid Group is going much farther, 5,000 miles farther, to provide direct help.
It's already providing shelter to refugees in youth centers and church buildings.
ADRA volunteers cross the border themselves into Ukraine with this convoy carrying supplies.
When they said, like, don't worry, you can feel like at home here and we will help you because we are your brothers and sisters in God, they just supported us, and that meant so much.
I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me.
Já está chegando o tempo em que nós cristãos provados vamos ser, mesmo que a igreja esteja prestes a cair, ela não cairá, Deus sustentará. Servos fiéis irão se revelar quando a tempestade se aproximar e a sacudidura vai soprar, o vento que irá o trigo separar. Deus fará descer sua chuva, chuva de poder. Então virá o fim, Jesus irá voltar. O momento é de alerta, o sol já se pôs, a meia-noite vem, o noivo vai chegar. irão se revelar quando a tempestade se aproximar e a sacudidura vai soprar, o vento que irá o trigo separar. A última mensagem do Senhor virá com grande glória e poder, e o povo fiel de Deus irá provar da luz que vem do céu. Servos fiéis irão se revelar quando a tempestade se aproximar e a sacudidura vai soprar, o vento que irá o trigo separar. Servos fiéis irão se revelar quando a tempestade se aproximar e a sacudidura vai soprar, o vento que irá o trigo separar.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's program, and I hope that you've been inspired and challenged by our 360-degree view of mission around the world. We've seen the challenges here in Tokyo, but we see this movement of church planting that's starting to take traction here, and we're so thankful for the way that missionaries and volunteers and centers of influence and local church members and pastors are coming together for this one focus on mission. And we've seen the challenges of Europe and the need for centers of influence as platforms for putting Christ's method of ministry into practice. But none of this would be happening without your support of Global Mission. I want to thank you so much for your continuing prayers for frontline workers. Thank you for your donations to Global Mission, and thank you for your personal involvement. Well, for Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.